Okay. It's time to move on to the next German session. Maybe I stand while I welcome my prestigious panel. It has to do with German Nordic co-productions, of course. Well, let's bring the panelists on without further ado and do introductions once they're here. Andri, Britta, Miira, Till, where are you guys? Come on stage. A warm welcome. And as said, I'm Nunnu Karppinen, coming from Finland, where I work with post-control in post-production, but really happy to speak with friends and clients and new friends. Okay, so the point is to discuss, of course, the German Nordic co-processes, as said, and particularly what drives these collaborations. And also I want to kind of look ahead on the near future of financing and sort of how these collaborations might be changing. I don't know if you heard these really relevant talks this morning, but you all know the audience behavior is changing, budgets are under pressure, and everything is changing, of course. And let's talk a little bit about how these changes are impacting these collaborations, and also creativity and creative processes. Okay, let's begin with introductions. Britta, welcome.
Hello.
Hello. You're the managing director and executive producer at Odeon Fiction, which is a Leonin company, and you've joined Odeon back in 2014 as head of international co-pros and as an executive producer, but now since last spring you've been sort of steering the company through these tumultuous times. Your late co-productions with the Nordics, I know, include The Seed with ARD and NRK, and then some years back also the Finnish Deadwind with Netflix and Yle. Now you're developing at least 3 series that I am aware of. One that has been published, Learning to Fly with Finland, with Yle, and then there are another couple other ones in the pipeline with Sweden and Norway. Anything else you want to add?
No, you perfectly captured everything.
As to your introduction,
Thank you so
much. Thank you, thank you. So then I'm going to ask, what's your favorite Nordic show that or one that you've seen recently, or your ultimate favorite Nordic show?
Nordic show. I really liked Reservat. I really liked Reservaten. I don't know how it is spelled. It's in Danish, the Danish show at Netflix.
Secrets We Keep. Yeah,
okay.
Great. Mm-hmm.
And I loved Reykjavik Fusion.
Reykjavik Fusion,
yeah.
Great. Happy.
I'm also a big fan of Young Royals.
Yes, of course, Young Royals. Perfect, thank you. Okay, moving on to Till. Welcome. Hello. We meet for the first time in 3D. That's great. So you are the CEO and executive producer at Zeitsprung Pictures. Congratulations on your 40th anniversary. I think any production company that can reach 40 years, I think, merits an extra applause on this. This is your anniversary.
Thank you so much.
So you're based in Cologne, which is, of course, the biggest studio hub in Europe, or one of the leading studio hubs in Europe. And you have an exciting new venture there. You're building, together with the MC Studios, something like a mini major in the Cologne area.
That's the idea. Thank you so much. Yes, that's true.
Great.
We're working on that. It's not the ink on the contract is not dry now, but it will work.
But the rumor has it something is happening.
And, no, bringing some, good power from the region, from North Rhine-Westphalia, from Cologne, together and strengthen the region also, because we have this super powerful regional subsidy there, and bringing that all together, building up a mini major for the future, coming from the region, coming from Cologne. This is the idea behind that.
Great, all the best with that. So you've done, of course, gazillion co-productions all over Europe, as Britta has also done. I know there was a Finnish co-production some years ago, and now you're kind of venturing, looking out what is out there in the markets. Your favorite Nordic show recently, or of all time, you can pick?
All time, it's the police commissioner Lund. This was really amazing, and nobody was at the street in Germany anymore because everybody was sitting in front of the TV.
Yeah.
But what I watched so recently was is a show called Wolf Summer. Wolf Summer. Wolf Traces Summer.
Is it Cry Wolf? I think it's no.
What is the title? I'm not.
Varje sommar. Yes, we got it. Yes.
This was an amazing show, and my wife and me, we were really inspired about, especially from the
spending some quality time. That's great. Thank you. A warm welcome. Then Miira from Anagram, my compatriot from Finland, but now representing since many years Anagram. Of course, you also have, I don't know, hundreds of both feature films and series combined under your belt. Because you've also, before Anagram, has been a sales agent and distributor. So you, as a COO of Anagram Group, are on top of co-productions that are being basically set up not only in Anagram Sweden, but also Anagram Norway, and then, of course, with Just Republic, the Finnish production company that you are co-owners of. Anything else you'd like to add before I ask your favorite German show?
We're also part of the Studio TF1 group.
Yes, the French one. Okay, a German show you'd like to mention?
Oh, yes, German shows. This was a hard one. My mother brought me up with The Fox, Der Alte.
Der Alte. That was
Yes.
you're stealing my show.
Yeah,
Okay.
I watched, I don't know, hundreds of episodes of that. But then I have to say, most recently, Unorthodox, I thought was a hit show for me. I had the pleasure of working with Shira Haas on her feature film Princess a long time ago, which was in Sundance, and she really impressed me. So Unorthodox is, yes.
Perfect.
It's with the streamer, though.
Yes, of course. Well, I have to continue from Der Alte because, of course, I mean, we are more or less the similar, of the same generation. So, I mean,
Yes,
what goes after Der Alte? Schwarzwaldklinik. After that comes Marienhof. Of course, we grew up with those shows, but let's not dwell on the nostalgia and move on. Andri? Oh, absolutely. Schwarzwaldklinik was in Finland. Wow. I spent all my Thursday afternoons with Theo and who else was there? You need to speak on the mic.
It was Saturday night in Germany.
It
was a big thing.
No, Der Alte was on Saturday, so that's... Okay, Andri, warm welcome from Iceland, Glassriver, CEO and producer over there. Well, Glassriver and you as well, of course, have a reputation for developing and producing ambitious drama like the rest of the panel for the global reach. And you want to combine sort of local storytelling, but we'll set it up from the get-go with international partnerships. You have 2 projects in the pipeline that are focusing on projects with Germany in mind. Everybody has Germany in mind. And then there was a mention about a procedural as well that we can maybe sort of circle back to. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, actually, just on the last festival, last market we attended, we were approached by a German producer who actually had an Icelandic IP and who was looking for an Icelandic partner to join in. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll be able to announce that soon.
Excellent. Yeah. Sounds exciting. I'm so sad that you cannot announce that here. I would have loved to have that headline. Okay, so let's dwell a few minutes on the... your German show briefly.
Yeah, my German show. I think I will highlight Bad Banks, CTF, so on Netflix.
There was a yes in the audience. Bad Banks.
Got a fan.
Okay, great. Okay, so in your view, we have established We Love Each Other's series. What are the binds that tie us, and why do you think these collaborations have been working so well since the days of The Bridge, I think, if we talk about sort of co-productions? What's in there? Who wants to start? Anybody?
I think we are very well established countries. I mean, the Nordics in general and Germany. The systems are very functional. There's a good, clear vision what we can deliver, what you like from the Nordics, what we like, what the broadcasters are searching. And from that all together, this gives a good fundament to co-produce together. And I think from history, from tradition, as we as humans also are not so differently like the Germans and the Italians, for example. but just giving one example here, maybe it's a good opportunity to work together. And for me, it never feels complicated. So very close from the beginning, very on the same eye-level line. We're speaking about the same skills, the same ideas, the same, and this is very promising to work together. So that's my impression here.
What about Miira or Britta? Yeah, you wanna
No, I agree that I think that one thing is definitely the cultural part, that the cultures are quite similar. So, and the viewing habits of the audience is quite similar, and that definitely makes it easier to co-produce. So, yeah.
The Nordic perspective?
Money. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
like
we
the
just heard
brutal
there's
one.
a lot, although complicated. Yes.
I mean, I'm like the boring person in the company who needs to think of financing and practical stuff. So we like German money. We like German broadcasters. We like working with Germany. We need to think about Germany. Germany is a part of my finance plan, always, in every way.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. But I think also when it comes to the economy, what I've found easier to, in the conversation with Germany, their price brackets is fairly similar to the ones we have in Iceland. Iceland is a fairly expensive country, and I've had that obstacle before when I was in co-production both in Spain and Portugal. There things became tricky, what should be done in Iceland towards our partnering country, because there was such a gap between the cost. We are on an eye level when it comes to prices. I think that helps a lot.
And we kind of share, I guess, without generalizing, the similar sort of, like you said, culture and ethics, and we drive from though we are very secular in the Nordics at least, but we, I guess, derive from the same Lutheran ethos and have that kind of...
We are extremely similar, I would say. We are working in a writer's room now with a German writer and an Icelandic writer, and they sync fairly easily from the first meeting. But I can tell you the first meeting with Icelanders and Portugal writers in the same room was a tricky one. We are completely different. So
right. Do you want to elaborate just briefly? In what way?
And how we tell stories. It's just, there's a vast difference. They come from they say everything they think, we don't.
We definitely don't say anything.
Well, Finns definitely don't say anything, so...
It's all in the eyes and in the silences.
No, but yes. I mean, maybe. It's just, I'm not sure if it's true, but, and I don't want to bother you,
Me?
But maybe we in north of Europe are more directed by a ratio from, we are coming from thinking about things, and all the south territories and countries people coming from the heart and soul or emotions.
Don't make us feel so unemotional.
Of course, I love to co-produce with the Nordics together, but it's also very sympathetic to work with emotions. Because
in the best case, it all we learn from the other side, right? And then in the end, there's a great mix. But I think because the cultures are different, it's easier with the Nordics because the viewing habits are more similar. Germans love Nordic shows.
Yeah.
The Nordics, I don't know, like German shows maybe. I don't know. but I think the viewing habits are similar, so it's easier to find functioning writers' rooms and subjects and topics that work for all territories.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, the Germans like Nordic shows, specifically, I guess, in this context, crime shows.
Of course.
Is that still is that still what gets financed, or what's happening?
It seems so. Mm-hmm. From the German perspective, it seems so. We have a market which is dominated by 75% minimum of crime shows all over the year on each channel, on each broadcasting. So this is, I think, the maximum of crime shows you can have in Europe, in a country. We love the Nordic crime shows because the darkness and mystery things and all that stuff, this is very special, but the screening always happening at after 10 o'clock in the evening on Sundays. After the word on the Sunday, there comes the Nordic crime show.
Yes.
And
I'd like to do that.
Yeah, it mainly happens with ZDF, but there's also a little minor part from ARD. So it's very popular in Germany. Yeah. I don't know if the admission numbers are that good anymore. I mean, for me in Germany, it feels like that the people are a little bit bored about crime shows at all because it's too many. So this is an effect which may happen in the next, I don't know, years.
Well, Britta, what are the sort of...
And from my feeling, on the one hand, the type of crime they're looking for might shift a little bit more towards lighter crime. And not so much Nordic noir anymore. And then my impression is that even though some Germans are still looking for those kind of crime shows, the Nordic broadcasters don't. So we are currently looking at some IPs that would probably sell quite well in Germany, but I'm sure that we wouldn't find someone in the Nordics for this, and then the whole model doesn't make sense. I don't know, maybe you can confirm or you disagree, but I think the classical Nordic noir crime shows have a harder time in the Nordics right now.
Well, we discussed this a bit before, that in Germany, your broadcasters, streamers, they want procedurals, and we have a hard time financing those from our territories at the moment. So I don't think our commissioners are really looking for those shows, so there is a little bit of a glitch there. That's one of the issues, but I think there's a lot of possibilities in the IPs because there's many like Nordic or Scandinavian authors that are very popular also in Germany. So it's not just, you know, us, the TV and film business, it's also, it expands to literature and other IPs.
Yeah. So is your vibe to conclude that in the next, say, 5 years, we are still feeding a certain slot of crime? Britta says it's sort of lightening up. I guess given the doomsdays that we currently live on, everybody wants lighter because we have serious crimes all over around us in real life. But the general sort of crime scene is still, at least with the legacy broadcasters, if we're talking about them, is still a strong one.
Yeah, I think so. That's the conversation that we are having. They are asking us to lighten it up a bit, but I think the audience is still looking for the crime, the crime engine behind the story. Yeah. And I agree. I think to financing and to find a project that fits both territories can be tricky. I think we are fairly fortunate in Iceland. Our commissioners are fairly open, and they are aware that they are small when it comes to our international financing, and they need to be more forgiving towards what the other commissioner or the other power player on the table is more asking for. So I think that's fortunate for us. But then when it comes to the appetite in Germany, because you mentioned it briefly with literature, we tap into that. I think that's a nice way of seeing what can be traveling well, and especially within Germany. And Icelandic crime stories and Nordic crime literatures have done exceptionally well in Germany. And I think that can be a door opener for all parties.
Yeah, but have you found out that in the current climate, sort of financing-wise, sort of Swedish-German match made in heaven, off you go, Bob's your uncle. Now with the diminishing budgets, have you come across, you know, situations in which you realize that, okay, well, this duo lingo is not gonna suffice anymore. We need to do something else. What's the sort of budget and finance or the monies that you are getting currently from your commissioners? Is that enough, or are you kind of forced to invite new friends, possibly Latins?
It's going down. I mean, I think everybody in the room can agree to that. And there's these collaborations that have also, I mean, we've benefited from a lot, our company from N12, but also from New 8 in some ways, but also these, I know there's a panel about New 8.
We'll go into New 8 later, yes.
Later, but I mean, some of these have affected the market in a way so where the prices have also dropped. And for us, especially I think for Swedes and for Danes, who used to get quite good money from Germany, and that money is not as good as it used to be. So that is, of course, a problem across.
You second, the budgets are getting smaller, Britta?
Yes, exactly. And I also have the feeling that German broadcasters are waiting a little more until they get involved in a project because there's so much stuff on the market and there are so few slots. So a project that they might have co-produced and pre-financed 5 years ago is now a project they can just buy from a sales agent at a later stage. So that's why, at least I'm looking for something really specific, either an IP or a real authentic show that can attract the audience in both markets. I think it's definitely harder than it used to be, also with crime shows.
Yeah.
I think it's not big time sinking budgets in Germany, because I mean, we are producing many shows, many series, also high end and so on, out of the German market. I mean, single without doing any co-productions. So there's a lot of money in the market. I don't know if the system is functionally enough to direct the money in the best way to get the best product out of it. So this is a question what I have. I think the money is sufficient in January for shows which coming from Germany. But on a high-end perspective, it's super good to co-produce. And on a European way, it's also super good to co-produce, because, I mean, the future is what you just mentioned before. Budgets will sink down, and maybe you have much more problems in the Nordics as we have in a, let's say, bigger territory now, money-wise. But we will also arrive this level. And from that point on, we should think about how we all can co-produce in all over Europe, in entire Europe. This is my biggest question, to be honest. And with that, we should find an idea to harmonize the European funding structures, systems, and reducing bureaucracy, because, I mean, what I'm doing as producer is these days is 90% of administration and bureaucracy, and I'm not creative anymore. You know, this is kind of stupidness.
Anyone else? Echo, Tils? Go ahead. Britta.
No, I just wanted to add that I think on the one hand there are the universal stories that don't have to have specific German or Swedish or whatever elements, and then on the other hand, if a show is serialized, I think it needs to be authentic in both territories. It's not rocket science, obviously, it's quite obvious, but I discussed that with Anna Kay, who we co-produced The Seat with. Hi, Elizabeth. and she said it was so successful in Norway because the Norwegian audience felt it was Norwegian. And at the same time, for the German audience, it felt very German because of the cast and because of the subject. And I think that's the challenge in order to build and create projects that are slightly bigger, more high budgeted, and that differ from the classic broadcasters program in a way to create those kind of stories.
Sort of authentic and also keeping the local sort of feel for the local audience.
Yeah, because otherwise there's no justification for pre-buying or co-producing. You need something, I think, in order to pay this amount of co-pro money.
Co-production has always been essential for us when it comes to high-end budget, because we cannot produce local high-end stories on a local budget coming from a small country of 400,000. So co-production is crucial. And Germany is always a key player in our financing model, either by a direct input through pre-sale or co-pro, or through a higher MG if the territory is available. So Germany is always part of our financing plan, either through the MG, because the territory is available, or directly through co-production or commissioning.
Yeah.
And I think that will not change anytime soon.
It's not going to change.
No, I agree with that. I mean, Germany and the waterfall is also very nice.
Well, but what about then of the sort of shifting strategies between or amongst I'm still talking about the sort of legacy commissioners and the biggest sort of anchors of our sort of in the broadcasting commissioning field, like ZDF, and then again the public broadcasters here in the Nordics. I'm just thinking that, you know, there are shifting emphasis perhaps that, you know, in Germany is the situation still so that it's the broadcasters are feeding their linear thing. Is there a disparity for the Nordic broadcasters perhaps aiming more at the platform, and are they reaching out to different audiences? Have you kind of realized that there can be a little hiccup on the road, or is that just a little bump, smooth sailing onwards?
Well, I think in the Nordics, everybody's looking at the audiences that are watching the play or platform viewing, kind of. So that's the numbers everybody's concentrating on, not the linear. Whereas I've understood, especially after our conversation, is that in Germany this is not the case. So
especially for the co-pro slots, for the projects that are being co-produced, they are mostly on slots where linear broadcast is still very important in Germany.
Yes. And then that brings us to the fact that we have different target audiences. So if you're making a show, one of the most important questions is what type of show are you doing, and then what is the target audience? And then if that's very different, that makes it a bit more complicated.
Understood. So then you need good partnership with the respective commissioners and sort of create that trust in the creative process to get into that same goal and vision that feeds both these sort of possibly slightly different audiences. Okay. Well, let's go into the financing and the future of financing and these co-commissions and these structures such as the New Eight. Miira's favorite. Now I give the floor to you because you started you were hinting in that direction.
So it felt natural at that point.
Absolutely. Well, we'll make it natural again. So yes, please. So New Eight collaboration, pros and cons, everybody, and how the thing could be, how the financing and commission could be developed.
Well, we're involved via a kind of sister company in the Studio TF1 group in a Belgian New Eight project, which is done with Anagram Norway. And I think that's benefited that project very well. Coming from a smaller territory, both territories are basically smaller than Germany, Sweden, and Denmark. So it works well. It's a historical period drama, and it's a local story. So it works well for that. Kudos, good. But I'm not sure if you have a, let's say, more commercial show from, like I was saying, Sweden or Denmark, if you can, through this type of system, get the top money that you need. And what I've noticed in the past years is that what I think you were both saying is that due to these kind of collaborations between the broadcasters, there's not that many slots available anymore. There's no appetite to pick up other projects because they're getting inundated. This is my point of view. They're getting inundated, the broadcasters in Germany, with our Nordic projects already.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. We are experiencing exactly the same thing. It's fantastic for we are small. We need support, but for us to I always say internally with my team, nobody's waiting for the next Icelandic show. We need to fight for our shows every day, and for that to be a non-crime is extremely tricky. But alliance like these and Nordic 12 can be really viable for those kind of shows. So drama-driven and local-driven stories can only go on those kind of budget if it goes through those kind of alliances. If you look at how the past has been, but then on the flip side, I agree. The more commercial shows, we can't find the fit anymore because the market is so overpowered by slots being driven by New Eight and Nordic 12.
Mm-hmm. And the budget levels, yes, there is only so much space for shows in certain budget levels, so that the competition is getting really difficult and crowded against, for example, streamers within that space. Britta,
I totally love the idea of European countries collaborating in order to finance and set up projects that can compete with the budgets of the streamers, and thus making us as producers, as the market, more compatible on the long run. But for a bigger territory like Germany, I also have the feeling that it doesn't, that maybe some projects that are being made anyhow in German language are being put into the system, and they don't necessarily get more money. And the good thing about this is that the European territories share their projects, and that we can watch more Icelandic shows and Finnish shows, and that they're getting more used to watching not only domestic or US shows, but the hopes that bigger budgets would be possible and tell stories that are not, that would have not been told without this kind of budgets. Until now, it's, I don't know if this is happening in Germany, from my feeling, not so much.
I didn't work with the New Eight and also with the Alliance system, because for me it seems too complicated and needs too much time for decisions and finding partners. And you know, after a while or after years, also your project falls a little bit asleep because, you know, maybe you found a good IP and you found a wonderful story and it means something for our days, for example, and it has a relevance, you know. And then maybe 3 or 4 years later you can produce physically the show. This can also be too late for the story, you know, for the story you like to tell. Yeah. So this is something, what I'm really missing is clear and fast decisions. But what we have in the German market, and this is good, how we can co-produce together, regional subsidy system, which you saw before in the presentation from the FFA, that you have all these regional subsidies, and maybe also we in Cologne have the strongest one in Germany with 40 million euros every year available. So this is a huge amount of money. Additionally, for series, you have the German Motion Picture Fund. And if you look at the feature side of the world, of our audiovisual world, there are a little bit more opportunities also. So it seems to be attractive and feasible to bring our countries together on a co-production side and not make it too complicated. I mean, what means co-production if you're 5 or 6 or 8 maybe co-producers? Everyone wants to say something. So it's a little bit also demolition your own project, because you have to give a responsibility to this and that guy and so on. And I like really the straight ways, and I like really the concrete forward ways. So that's how I try to establish everything on my projects, also with partners. So that's a little bit my perspective.
Yeah, great points. Since our session is almost coming to an end, I think this is a good opportunity to kind of send your other development ideas you might have towards commissioners and funders. I already kind of interpreted efficiency and sort of not spending too much time in the process. Guys, what else is there before we wrap it up?
We've worked both with traditional broadcasters and streamers. I think what I would welcome is that the people on the other side of the table from me would understand the co-production model and what opportunities there are in it, and understand from our perspective as producers, really want to make the show and make it quite fast and in a way where everybody can benefit from it.
Andri?
What I hope to see in the near future, I really liked that meeting I took last year when I mentioned earlier about the German producer reaching out to us, because I have felt like the German has been able to work locally, being a big territory. They have not been forced to look outside of their territory. But now, if that door can be more opened, I think that became really both fun and lucrative for all partners.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that what I would also hope for is faster decisions and believing in projects from early on, and then being passionate about it and not waiting and taking time to decide and maybe waiting for cast or something, and believing in a producer's and writer's vision and then making it possible together.
Exactly. Together. I love that the final word was together. Well, I guess my time is to thank you all. I don't think this needs to be wrapping up because you all sort of made such excellent and clear points. I wish all the best to to your respective projects and co-productions. We keep an eye out on the soon coming press releases on the hinted collaborations, and wish you all the best and have a great rest of the festival. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.